kind of revolution. Oh, science comes of age. This Sefer has a lot of interesting things. And it says that two of the most revolutionary laws in genetics were discovered over the last 100 or so years. Mendel's laws of inheritance and the law of heterosis. And both of them appear in this week's parasha. Both of them. First, a person needs to understand that the Zohar Kadosh says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, He created the world according to what the Torah says. Meaning that the Torah was created before the world was created. The Gemara Masechet Chagigah says, Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world 974 generations after He created the Torah. And therefore he looked at the Torah as the blueprint for creating the world. Where whatever was needed according to the Torah is what He put in His world. Similar to what the Midrash says in Midrash Rabbah Bereshit, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like a king that designed a castle based on what his future needs are going to be. He knew he's going to need food, so he put a kitchen. He knew he's going to need a place for guests, so he put guest rooms. He knew he's going to need a lot of light in a certain room, so he put more chandeliers there, and so on and so forth. That's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, based on the blueprint called the Torah. And when a person understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created such a world, then they could start understanding that since He is above time and above anything else, He is the creator. The past, present, and future are all the same to Him. What happened 4,000 years ago, or what's happening today, or what will happen tomorrow or in 50 years from now, is all exactly the same in the eyes of Hashem. There is no difference whatsoever. And when He created everything, He put everything that's in existence to the smallest details inside the Torah. And that's what the Gaon Mivilna writes in the Sefer Safra Ditzniuta. It's a commentary on the Zohar Kadosh, where he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put every single thing that will ever be, that ever was and ever will be, to the smallest details, including your personal life, including today's SHIUR, including how you're going to feel in the morning between the hours of 9 and 10 in the morning, including what socks you looked at in a store that you went to 3 years ago on the way to work, including what sandwich you ate 15 years ago at 3 o'clock in the afternoon during your lunch break from work, including what you're going to do 18 years from now at 8 o'clock on a Friday, and so on and so forth. Every single small detail of creation is inside the Torah. And when a person understands that general idea, because it's impossible for a person to understand the details of it because we don't think in infinite terms, then they could easily understand how the prophecy of Yaakov could easily contain in it some of the most revolutionary discoveries in the field of genetics in recent years. The agreement between Yaakov and Lavan was that Yaakov would take ownership of all of the newborn, speckled and spotted animals in the flock. Initially, really, it was supposed to be the ones that were there. Lavan changed the deal. Initially, he was supposed to leave some of them behind and take most of them back. Lavan changed the deal. What it ended up being was, against all odds, he left them only solid animals, and whatever is born from there that's speckled and spotted, that's your profit. Okay. After separating them away from each other and making sure that they take those animals 3 days away, Yaakov starts profiting. The prophecy in chapter 31 verse 10 says, "And it came to pass at the time that the flock was fertile, and I," meaning Yaakov, "raised my eyes and saw in a dream that the rams which leaped upon the flock were streaked, speckled, and spotted." Meaning that everything that he had was what he actually needed. But the reality was the exact opposite. He didn't have any spotted animals. He didn't have anything. And then an angel of God says to me, "Yaakov." And I said, "Here I am." He says, "Lift up your eyes and see the rams upon your flocks, streaks, speckled, spotted, for I have seen all that Lavan has done to you." And from this point of the dream, Yaakov begins to understand that Lavan has been cheating him the whole time, much more than he thought. And he has to be more aggressive with certain things. And he decides to send Lavan the least fertile animals to mate with his flock. And the verses continue saying, "And he sent the feeble animals to Lavan, those animals that are least likely to be fertile, and the strongest ones stayed with Yaakov's flock." And Yaakov's wealth grew. So here we see that Yaakov's behavior was a little bit unusual. The deal itself. 2, the fact that he sees in his dream, in his prophecy, that everything he has is what he needs, when it's in the reality is exactly the opposite. He doesn't have spotted animals. He doesn't have anything like that. And we see that things are a little bit strange. So one thing that Yaakov did do as his ishtadlut, following the instructions of this dream, following the obligation of having some effort, is that Yaakov made sure to take the rods of the, the verse says here in Genesis 30, verses 37 and 39, it says, "And Yaakov took rods of green poplar from the almond and the plane tree, and peeled white streaks in them, and made the white within the rods appear." So imagine you have a stick, a tree, and a tree, let's say, has the outside of it, it looks green or looks brown or whatever it is. But if you take a razor and you slice it, take that off, now it exposes the white. So he made several of these, let's say one tree, he made, let's say, 3 spots of white. And he did this with several different sticks. And then he set these rods that he peeled in front of the flocks, in the gutters of the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they drank. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth streaked, speckled, and spotted cattle. So we see here something unusual. What is number one, what is going to drink water have anything to do with conception and these sticks? And why do these sticks have anything to do with giving birth to spotted animals? So Rashi says over there that the sheep would go to the water, and as soon as they got there, when they raised their head, they see these sticks that would scare them. So they would go back. And Yaakov made sure to send the female sheep first. So as soon as they would be startled by seeing this thing, they would go back, and the male was always behind them, and therefore they would both mate. So that's the first thing. That has to do with why there is the mating by the water. Now, what does the stick have to do with them producing a speckled baby, little sheep? What does that have to do with it? From there we learn that what the woman sees at the time of procreation affects, and even pregnancy, affects what she produces. The Midrash Tanchuma, Parashat Naso, in chapter 9, has a story about Rabbi Akiva, where a king that was black, married to a black queen, had a child that was white, and wanted to murder his wife. But his wife cried out, says, listen, I don't leave the palace. Who am I going to cheat with? No, you cheated on me. How could it be? How could it be? She says, go to the Chachamim, go to wise people. See, I didn't cheat. At least give me a chance. So this black king went to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says to him, you are black, your wife is black, and you had a white kid? Yeah. He goes, what's the problem? He says, what do you mean what's the problem? It's a white kid. She cheated on me, I'm going to kill her. Rabbi Akiva says, not necessarily she cheated on you. He says, you have idols in your house, right? You have idols, statues, all types of things in your house? He says, yes. Rabbi Akiva says, what color are your statues? He says, they're white. All the statues are white. He says, okay, so it's your wife. Probably when you were intimate with her, she looked at one of the statues. And that's why you have a white baby. Because our sages knew what Yaakov Avinu was doing here. And he says, if you don't believe me, our Torah says so. We learned from Yaakov Avinu that he made these white streaks in this, and this led to the actual breeding of the animals, turning into speckled animal. The solid two brown sheep ended up having a speckled sheep baby. But they were both solid brown. Okay, they were both solid brown, but what they saw, what the female saw at the time of conception, that affected her. And from there we learn that whatever the woman sees at the time of intimacy, and even during the time that she's pregnant, affects the offspring. We are meant to be a light unto the nations, not to follow their misguided practices. Remember, every Jew has to remember that he's a Jew and she's a Jew. We don't celebrate non-Jewish holidays, even if they seem harmless. It's a zilzul, disrespect to the Torah, and could lead to Chilul Hashem, desecration of God's name. Stick to our holy Torah and our own holidays. That's the path of a true Jew.